He was so close to walking away. Not from one tournament, from everything. In 2021, Kristoffer Reitan was one of the worst professional golfers in Europe. 18 starts, 13 missed cuts. He couldn't break 75. He couldn't find the fairway. He couldn't remember why he ever loved the game. He sat alone in his apartment, stared at his golf bag, and asked himself a question that would change everything. If it's not golf, what is it? The answer took 4 years to find. On Sunday, standing on the 18th green at Quail Hollow, holding a trophy that meant more than $3.6 million, Kristoffer Reitan dropped a bombshell. Not about his victory, about his escape. And the golf world is still processing what he said. The date was May 10, 2026, Quail Hollow Club in Charlotte, North Carolina. The final round of the $20 million Truist Championship was coming down to the wire, and the leaderboard was a collection of names that no one expected at the start of the week. Rickie Fowler, the 37-year-old who had been knocking on the door all season, was chasing his first victory since 2023. Nicolai Højgaard, the young Danish star, was proving that his breakout 2025 season was no fluke. And Kristoffer Reitan, a name that even most hardcore golf fans barely recognized, was leading them all. The Norwegian rookie had started the final round with a share of the lead. The pressure was immense. The $20 million purse was on the line. The $20 million purse was on the line. The $3.6 million prize, million winner's check, was waiting, and the cameras were watching his every move. Reitan didn't crumble. He didn't panic. He fired a 2-under par 69 to finish on 15 under 269, holding off a charging Rickie Fowler and Nicolai Højgaard by 2 shots. When he tapped in the final putt on the 18th green, he raised his arms to the sky. The crowd erupted. The broadcasters scrambled to find something, anything, to say about a player they had barely mentioned all week. "I don't have any words, to be honest," Reitan said after the round. "This is way more than I expected, and for it to happen this quickly is just unreal. Yeah, a dream come true. But behind the victory, behind the $3.6 million check, behind the tears and the trophy and the celebration, there was a different story. A story that Reitan had been carrying for 5 years. A story he was finally ready to tell. To understand the bombshell that Kristoffer Reitan dropped after his victory, you have to go back to 2021. Back to the darkest days of his career. Back to the moment when the 23-year-old Norwegian sat alone in his apartment and asked himself a question that no professional athlete ever wants to answer. If it's not golf, what is it? Reitan had turned professional in 2018. He had shown flashes of talent. He had represented Norway in international competition. He had dreamed of following in the footsteps of his friend and rival Viktor Hovland, who had already won on the PGA Tour and was on his way to becoming a Ryder Cup star. But in 2021, the dream was dying. Reitan made 18 starts on the DP World Tour and the Challenge Tour. He missed the cut 13 times. He finished inside the top 35 just once. His scores were not just bad, they were embarrassing. He couldn't break 75. He couldn't find the fairway. He couldn't remember why he had ever loved the game. The struggles continued into 2022. In his first 5 starts of the season, he finished T66, cut, WD, cut, and cut. The pattern was unmistakable. He was getting worse, not better, and the mental toll was becoming unbearable. "I was getting beaten down pretty badly out on the golf course mentally," Reitan told the DP World Tour in an interview before his Truist Championship victory. "Even if it goes badly on the golf course, I want to see some sort of progress in any department of the game. I'll take it. But it came to a point where you can go months, even years from seeing progress, and then you show up into a tournament, and after a while you just get very beaten down mentally." That was the moment when Reitan stepped away. Not from a tournament, from everything. He took nearly 8 months off from competitive golf, retreating from the public eye to figure out what came next. If it's not golf, what is it? He asked himself. I don't know if I got to a conclusive answer. It was difficult. It was like an identity crisis in the heat of it. Here is where the bombshell gets even more shocking. Because during that long, dark period away from competitive golf, Reitan didn't just consider quitting. He considered something else entirely. Something that would have taken him completely out of the professional game. He considered becoming a YouTube golfer. I was, at that point, considering whether or not I wanted to continue playing professionally, Reitan revealed after his Truist Championship victory. I had some thoughts about how to make the game a little bit more fun, a little bit more relaxed. Let me read that again. A 23-year-old professional golfer, at the lowest point of his career, was seriously considering walking away from the tour to film videos for the internet. Not for millions of dollars, not for fame, just to find the joy in the game again. I think YouTube golf would have given me maybe some of that fun competitiveness back. Maybe not the serious competitiveness, Reitan admitted. I was just trying to find ways to make it more fun, to give my journey in golf a little bit of energy and trying to have fun while I'm playing so that I could endure the hardships that follow. The admission is staggering. A player who would go on to win a $20 million signature event, who would earn a 2-year PGA Tour exemption, who would climb to 25th in the official world golf ranking, he was ready to throw it all away to become a content creator. But Reitan couldn't bring himself to do it. Not yet. He took the time off. He did the self-reflection. He asked himself the hard questions. And then, slowly, he started to find his way back. I went through a period of a lot of self-reflection and trying to figure out, if it's not golf, what is it? Reitan said, I went into it with an open mind a little bit. I thought at that point that I was going to go all the way down to Nordic League again and would have to build my way up if I decided to continue playing, which was a devastating choice to make. At the same time, I just found it was the only reasonable solution. I always wanted to make it work, and during that period I remember just looking back to when I was probably 12, and a huge part of my identity has been golf. It's very, very difficult to go through a period where you start doubting yourself a lot and start thinking, I've identified myself as this talented golf player for a while, and suddenly that's just being stripped away piece by piece. That was very difficult. The victory at Quail Hollow was not supposed to happen. Not this week, not this way. In fact, Reitan almost wasn't even in the field. The story of how the Norwegian rookie qualified for the Truist Championship is so strange that even he had trouble believing it. It involved a double bogey, a late bogey from another player, and a reshuffling of the Aon next 10 standings that happened minutes after Reitan signed his scorecard. The fact that I made double bogey apparently helped me, which makes no sense, but I'll take it, Reitan admitted after his victory. Let me explain. At the Cadillac Championship the week before, Reitan finished tied for 14th. Not great, but solid. He signed his card and prepared to head home. Then reporters approached him with news that would change his week. Alex Smalley's late bogey at Doral had shifted the qualification categories, and Reitan had squeaked into the Truist field through the Aon 5 category. I was only in the field due to late withdrawals, Reitan explained. I didn't even know I was in until after I finished at Doral. A double bogey that helped him qualify. A last-minute spot in a $20 million event. And now, a victory that had moved him from anonymous Norwegian to PGA Tour champion. But the real story was not about the bizarre qualification. It was about what Reitan had overcome to get to this point. The identity crisis, the YouTube temptation, the years of struggle that had nearly broken him. I came from the DP World Tour, where people were starting to recognize me as a good player, Reitan said. And then I came over here and I had to start from scratch. I had that feeling that no one had any idea who I was. So I had to earn it, and I hope this is a way of doing that. It's been cool the last few weeks to suddenly see people in the crowd shouting my name. The bombshell that Kristoffer Reitan dropped after winning the Truist Championship was not about his victory. It was about his escape. Not from the tournament, from the sport. From an identity crisis that nearly drove him out of professional golf forever. I learned to fight very, very hard for my scores, even if my game doesn't feel 100%, Reitan said, reflecting on his journey. The work that followed his self-imposed exile was not glamorous. It was not exciting. It was not the stuff of YouTube highlights or viral moments. It was grinding on the Challenge Tour. It was fighting for status. It was believing that the kid who had once dreamed of being a professional golfer was still in there somewhere.
After a lengthy break from competitive golf, Reitan returned to the Challenge Tour in 2023. He finished the season with 6 top 31 finishes in his last 8 starts. He played his way back to the DP World Tour after winning the 2024 Rolex Challenge Tour Grand Final. In 2025, he put up the best season of his career, winning twice on the DP World Tour and earning his PGA Tour card. I think it's all like a puzzle, Reitan said. There are many pieces that have to fit together. I've improved in many areas, but one of the most important is believing that I can do it. I knew I could do it on the PGA Tour as well. At 28 years old and sitting 25th in the official world golf ranking as he enters his prime years, the Norwegian's golfing future looks secure and likely to go in only one direction. But the bombshell, the real bombshell, is not about the victory. It is about the journey, the dark days, the identity crisis, the YouTube temptation, the question that haunted him in his darkest moments. If it's not golf, what is it? For Kristoffer Reitan, the answer has finally arrived. Standing on the 18th green at Quail Hollow, holding a trophy that meant more than $3.6 million, the question has been answered. It is golf. It always has been, and Kristoffer Reitan is never walking away again. Do you think Kristoffer Reitan's story is one of the greatest comebacks in golf history, or does he still have more to prove? Drop your take in the comments below. And if you want the real story behind every victory, every collapse, and every comeback in golf, hit that subscribe button, because Kristoffer Reitan's story is just getting started.